Well, hello everyone, greetings and welcome to the Halo Wars 2 multiplayer guide. Today we're going to be focusing on Morgan Kinsano, one of my most favorite and cherished leaders in Halo Wars 2. Unfortunately, she's been kind of nerfed into oblivion the last, I'd say couple of years really, honestly, but she's still a lot of fun to play as, so I'm going to do a beginner's guide on Morgan Kinsano. If Morgan's not your cup of tea, there is a playlist with all the other guides I have done and will do, but that's neither here nor there. So let's go ahead and get started. Once we load into the match, I'm going to build a couple supply pads right off the bat. Tell my Marines to go gather crates and power. This is always depending on what kind of map that you're on. I chose Sentry for this because I've had some of my best games of Kinsano on Sentry. For our first leader point, I really like Heat of Battle. Upon making a kill, units briefly gain a damage bonus and have greatly increased armor. I believe this is identical to Killing Frenzy, which is on the banished side with Decimus. Up until a few months ago, Hell Charge was like extremely broken and OP. And this is something that you could get. However, it got nerfed, and I don't think it's that good anymore. And it's probably only really viable if you get it to level 3. The problem is that there's other points on this leader wheel that I would recommend over Hell Charge. So still, I recommend Heat of Battle. So we're going to upgrade our supply pads and get a generator going. Now, there's two ways we could go about moving forward. Is the next point, we're going to get Hell Drop, which drops a veteran Hellbringer squad into battle. We could either, if we're going to try and go to second tech, we could build our second generator, or we can build 2 barracks and continuously pump out flamethrowers if we're going to be doing some sort of a rush. I don't want to do that because that would end the match because this is a normal AI. So I'm just going to build a second generator. This is, of course, going to depend again on what map you're playing on. I would recommend you make at least a couple of Marine squads. Set your rally points somewhere close to a power node so we can start taking some points. So I should go over some of the pros and cons for Kinsano. I'll start with the good things. Kinsano is really good at taking out infantry. Her powers are great against infantry. The Inferno is a great drop to help you take out a base. I really like using the Inferno, especially in UNSC bases, because they don't have shields. So you can just drop the Inferno on that, and you got a pretty good head start about taking out an opponent's base. The Kinsano hero unit, Kinsano Cyclops, is... I actually don't know if she's the fastest in the game. It may be up there with, like... I know Shipmaster's pretty quick, and so is Arby, but Kinsano may be the fastest when she gets the high torque joint upgrade. And then also, Kinsano's Flame Wall is simply wonderful. You can use that to help take out enemy bases. If your opponent's not paying attention and they got a bunch of infantry standing there, and you activate the Flame Wall, especially with the Dragon Tanks upgrade, I mean, you're in for a good time there. And she kind of has a really nice theme going around with a bunch of fire. I just wish that she had Flame Siege. I think that would be awesome if she had Flame Siege, but sadly, she does not. Kinsano also has a few drops that can be quite annoying. There's the Hellbringer drop, there's the Flame Warthog drop, and then lastly there's Firestorm Battle Group. So there's not as many unit drops as Captain Cutter, but as far as UNSC goes, I think Kinsano comes in second with the most unit drops. There's also a lot of offensive powers that Kinsano has that I really like, and she's just a good leader to have fun playing as, honestly. Some of the cons for Kinsano is I think Kinsano is pretty weak when it comes to air, since Kinsano really favors anti-infantry fire units. That kind of leaves a big weakness to air. The Flame Warthogs are not very good against air. None of her powers are very good against air. And Kinsano Cyclops itself cannot attack air. So make sure that you either go Combat Tech Marines or have a decent bit of Wolverines on hand to counter a lot of air, because that's probably going to be the biggest weakness. Also, unfortunately, the focus on infantry leaves a vulnerability to vehicles as well. So if your opponent starts going Wraiths and Scorpions, you're going to struggle a little bit there too. So I think Kinsano just unfortunately gets outplayed quite a lot. And I think it's just due to her design being an infantry, anti-infantry based leader. So one of my favorite things to do once we get into second tech is I love going Flame Hogs. So I'm going to actually build 2 garages, and we're going to, you can see I got a lot of supplies going here because I haven't really bought anything. And this is going to vary from match to match, of course. If you have your opponent kind of send some troops your way earlier in the match, you're going to need to build turrets or other Marines to defend yourself. So your mileage may vary, of course. On this mini, I'm going to put an armory. And I've taken a couple of nodes, and I'm going to take this expo here as well. Now that we have some Flame Hogs, these are so much fun to use. Especially kind of like early Tech 2. One of my favorites is, don't you even try taking that node. That's what I thought. Let's see if they've taken these crates. So we got our second garage up, so we're going to be double pumping Flame Hogs here. We got our expo going, and now we can start training Kinsano, get the Flame Wall upgrade. Again, if you want to make Kinsano in Tech 1, that's totally fine. It's going to depend on how the match plays out, really. This match has kind of been a little bit more, I guess, easier. You know, and I was today years old when you zoom in here. The passenger of the Flame Hog has a rocket. And I think that's the sole reason why they can only shoot one projectile at air. I was today years old when I found that out. Isn't that sad? Okay, so we got another leader point here. You can choose between the Napalm missiles and the turret drop. Red line, I would wait until this is one of your last nodes. When you get to Red Line 2, I believe you get a boost to, oh, look at this, boost to air, which would be great. So I'm going to get the Napalm missiles. This is a perfect angle to drop the Napalm missiles right here. Take out this gentleman's locusts. He's got quite a bit of locusts. It's a good thing I was building these Warthogs. Here's Kinsano. And this is kind of a poor example, but the Flame Hogs did do pretty well there, but locusts just aren't the, I guess, the best example. I really like overwhelming my opponents with Flame Hogs at this stage in the game. This could really fail, but on the upside, Tech 1 is always usually heavy infantry unless they're going to go, say, choppers and jackrabbits. So you're going to have a lot of infantry on the field on from your opponent when you go into Tech 2. So you may have a little bit of an advantage starting off when you make these Flame Hogs, because you'll be able to have the type advantage. With our expo, I'm going to build an air pad, our 3rd gen, and another supply pad. Air pads for healing the Flame Hogs. Wow, I took out that base quick. I don't think I did all that damage. Surely something else had to happen. Maybe the Sentinels attacked it. I don't know. Took out that dude's expo base. We have plenty of power, so I'm going to go to Tech 3. Take this gentleman's node off his hands. Okay, so we just got our 4th point. I'll say it before and I say it again. I love the Flame Hog drop. It's 3 veteran Flame Hogs that are dropped on the field, and it costs no power. It's only 850 supplies. which is, if I'm doing the math, a little bit more expensive than just simply buying 3 Flame Hogs, but you do get the veterancy, so I say it's worth... Oh, this guy's at Tech 3. He's got Wraiths. So once you get into Tech 3, there's actually a contentious argument in the Halo Wars community of whether incendiary grenades are actually beneficial or not, because it replaces the constant attack of the Flame Hogs to kind of a more... kind of a launcher of sorts. Does this guy have mega turrets up? He does. And he's got Wraith Invaders. This guy's just going all out. I will drop the veteran Flame Hogs here. Totally unnecessary. And we can kind of see, these Flame Hogs don't have any upgrades, but they're really starting to fall off here from these mega turrets. And, you know, Warthogs just aren't the tankiest and strongest units. This Pavium is really bothering me. So, going back to this incendiary upgrades, to be honest, I don't know what the best answer is of whether or not to get this or not. I would say that probably it is worth, because I've not really had the experience where I was like, oh, this upgrade is terrible. But of course, get your vehicle upgrades. Make sure you have Nightingales on hand. And for your army composition later in the match, there's really no specialty that Kinsano has beyond just the Flame Hogs and the Kinsano Cyclops. Kinsano was the first DLC leader released for Halo Wars 2, so I think Kinsano came out really before the developers got in their groove of really making themes out of all of the future leaders. Like, for example, Yap Yap or Serena. They have big themes regarding around their leader. Kinsano really doesn't. So, to be honest, your army composition really should be dependent on your playstyle as well as your opponent's playstyle. I would not spam Flame Warthogs as the match progresses, because your opponent's just going to figure it out. And, you know, it's not like they're as strong as tanks or anything. So you really just need to figure out what works best in your situation. I know that's kind of a terrible non-answer, but that's really how to play as Kinsano in my experience. Is Kinsano does really good with her powers and really good with Flame Hogs. And that's also her weakness. Beyond that, there's really not much to Kinsano, but that's also why I love her so much, is because the flaming abilities are so cheddarful. I would recommend getting a barracks eventually and upgrading your flamethrowers. And that would just help benefit you when you do the Hell Drop. Now, when you get to your next point, you're going to have the option between Inferno and Firestorm Battle Group. I'm a firm believer in getting Inferno first and then Firestorm Battle Group. You already have unit drops in the Flame Warthog and the Hell Drop here. So you're going to need a ton of supplies and power to afford all 3 drops if you're going to use them simultaneously. But if you use the Inferno, you could actually have an attack I'll do here in a minute where you can use kind of all 4 of them. Hell Drop, Napalm Missiles, Flame Warthog Drop, and Inferno. I'll queue up some Detect, and we will do that attack. Alright, so I'm about to do this ridiculous unit drop here. Again, just be mindful of what your opponent's doing throughout the match. And take in consideration what your army composition should be. So if your opponent's going to go air to counter your Flame Warthogs, then put in some Wolverines. Alright, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do all these ridiculous drops. And I'm going to do the Flame Wall to help get that shield down. I probably should have waited actually until that shield went down, because it's actually fantastic when that happens. Alright, so now the shield's down. I'm just going to drop the Inferno here. You'll watch, like, all of the health of the buildings around are just going to start to really take a hit. And I'm going to drop the flamers here. I got the dispersion nozzles upgrade, and then I'll do a napalm missiles across. So it affects everything. And Pavium does have the, I forget the name. It's not combat repair, because that's colonies. It's a combat. Oh, someone's going to yell at me in the comments for forgetting. It's Pavium's combat repair for buildings. So the flame wall is going to come back probably right when the base is going to be gone. Well, we'll do it again. Yep. So I'll just cancel that out. Of course, there's no real defense there. But I got the base pretty quickly. We can just do it again here. And this is just, it's simply a fantastic Y ability against buildings. I mean, just look at it, take out these, this Harvester and this Apex. Of course, if they were to drop a beam or anything really, this would be completely over before it even started. And I have enough to drop the Firestorm Battle Grip. So this drops a Hell Charge everywhere in the LZ. So, like, drop this on everything. So all of your units get Hell Charge. See, look how much of my army now has Hell Charge. So that's just a quick little tip. So if you want to kind of go around getting the Hell Charge upgrade, but you still want to have that effect on your units, you can do that, but just keep in mind, it only works when you drop the Hell Charge. And as you can see, it didn't last for very long. But now I have like a Vet 2 tank. All sorts of nice little air units, so on and so forth. I think by and large, that's really how to play as Kinsano. There are a lot of people out there who stay committed to the Flame Hogs throughout the match, and I have seen that work, but that is seldom when that works. But overwhelming your opponent with a lot of fire units, as you can see here, works great in Kinsano's favor. That's going to do it here. A quick tip. The Cyclops moves faster than your whole army. So you could, if you want your Cyclops to go first, if you select all your units, they're going to go at the same speed. Then just click your Cyclops individually, and she'll take off. So if you need your Cyclops to either get out of a tough situation or get to somewhere first, you can do that. These also work as great defensive powers as well, particularly on Sentry. It's fantastic. In this ramp here, this is a perfect place for an Inferno because it's just a natural choke point on the map. Same kind of goes on over here and right there and right here as well. Just take advantage of units being kind of grouped together, and it should work out pretty well in your favor. Oh, yes. Well, that's going to do it for this guide. Thank you so much for watching. There is a playlist with all of the Halo Wars 2 guides on the channel, so if you want to see another one of particular leaders or your favorite leader, be sure to look at that playlist. If you want to see it in a more fancy placement, I guess, you can join our Discord server. I have a channel on our Discord server dedicated to, look at this, he put a base here. Playlist dedicated to just Halo Wars 2 guides, so you can see which leaders have been completed and which leaders are coming next. That does it again. That does it for me. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you, James.